Julie. Thanks for joining me for today's EdTech tutorial. Today's tutorial focuses on Google Docs and how to use the basic features of Google Docs to create a Hyperdoc. I have designed a basic English lesson and I'm going to be using that to show you how to use these features. We're going to cover 5 things in today's video: page features, fonts, links, tables, and pictures. So first, let me tell you a little bit about the design of the lesson that I'm going to be modifying today. So I have basically 4 sections of my assignment for my students. I have a section here that's going to be direct instruction. I have a section here where they're taking information from up here and putting it into a diagram and reviewing information. And then I have a practice where they're reviewing a piece of literature and they are applying what they've learned. And then down here is more application, but creation, where they're writing something themselves. And I'm going to be inserting some pictures in here. First, let's start with fonts. How would we use fonts in order to make this more engaging? So I have the title of my Hyperdoc up here, and I'm going to go ahead and center it. So the tools for alignment are right here. And then I'm going to change the size, which I can do here. You'll notice there are predetermined sizes, but you can also type them in the top. I'm going to change this to 24 and change my formatting here. And now I'm going to change the font type. So I have a couple of different options here. I have the font, the default is always Arial. And then we have styles over here. I wouldn't bother with these yet. If you watch my advanced video later today, these will become more important. Don't worry about this. These end up causing more problems than they're worth if you're not really an advanced user of Google Docs. So instead, I would go here to the font, and you'll see that there are some. These are the recent ones that I've used, but there are also quite a few down here. If you are a new user to Google Docs, they won't have quite as many of these. The really big ticket item here is this more fonts at the top. Google has tons and tons and tons of fonts. They have filters here, so you could pick script fonts, display, handwriting, all these different types, and then also by popularity you could sort them. But all the ones that are blue with little checkbox are all the ones that I've chosen to go into mine. But you can see that there are lots and lots and lots and lots of fonts. So I'm going to pick a new one that I want to use for mine that I don't already have included. I'm going to pick this Acme one, and I'm going to include that in mine. But you'll see even when I scroll all the way down to the bottom, I'm not to the bottom yet. There are lots and lots and lots of fonts in here. So you can have a great time looking through all of those and finding the ones that really kind of fit your style and what you're looking for. And you can also do a search up here too. But there are lots of really, really good fonts in here. So I'm going to say, okay, I've chosen my font. It's called Acme, and I'm going to use that throughout my text. So I'm going to keep Arial for all of my main sections, but I'm going to use Acme for the title up here, and then I'm going to use a different font for my titles. I'm going to change my titles to 18, not 24. I'm going to make those bold, and then I'm going to change them to this one. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to change all of these to the same. Okay, so now you've seen how to change font. You can also change color. So let's say I want to change this color. I have 2 options for color. I have the color of the text itself, so I could just pick a color to go with it. But I also have the option to do highlighting. So the highlighting here, so let's say I wanted to back that with another color. I could do that as well. So I can make the changes for color. I also have custom in all of these, and custom allows for just choosing from one of these color charts. You can slide the bar over and really have an opportunity to customize. You also can choose the specific color number, and in the advanced features I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to do that. Okay, so now we've changed color, font, we have italics, we also have underline. There is also a format text up here, and you have a few other options, size and capitalization. So that about covers it for fonts. The next feature we're going to talk about is page dimensions and features. To get there, you'll click on File and scroll to the bottom to Page Setup. Once you're in the Page Setup box, you can click on this drop-down menu and select any number of predetermined page sizes. You can also change the orientation of your page from portrait to landscape, which will mean showing it sideways. So I'm going to click on that and click OK. And now you can see what my document looks like if I change it from portrait to landscape, and then I'm going to change it back. I can also go into page setup and I can change the page color. A lot of Hyperdocs creators do this because it just makes their document look different than a regular worksheet would look. So one of the problems with doing this is that sometimes your font becomes a little bit harder to read. So I'm changing the color of the font. One of the problems with doing that, though, is now it's going to print as if it were a dark background with white letters, which is a problem for toner. It is a problem for printability. So you might want to consider that when you decide to change the color of your page. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to insert links. So in each of these sections, I have students referencing outside materials. So the easiest way to insert a link is to highlight the section of text that you want to become the link, and then we're going to add the link on top of that. So I have written here, click here to review your textbook section on plot. So I'm going to put my mouse right here, and I'm going to click and drag so that I have the whole section highlighted. And then I'm going to go to that section that I'm going to click. So this is already highlighted. Now I'm going to go to the textbook section that I have already selected, and I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to Control C. You could also right click and copy. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to Control K, which is going to pop up this text link. I could also right click and link. So Control K or right click and link is going to give me the same thing. And then I'm going to Control V or right click, paste, and then I'm going to hit apply. So now when my students click on this, they're going to be able to get to that same thing. So you'll see I have my two tabs open here. Now you'll notice that because of the background section that I chose, you can't really see this very well because of the blue. So I can still change this and it will still stay as a link. So I can change it to gray, and now it's more readable, but it's still a link, so my students can still click on it. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my links, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone through and I've included all of my links. You'll see them here throughout. Anything that's underlined are my links. And the next thing I need to do is add places for my students to include their answers. Now they could simply just type after some of these questions that I have in here, but what you'll find is that it's harder to grade and students often have trouble with some of the formatting. So the best way that I have found, and the way that most Hyperdoc creators set this up, is to include tables. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually this is going to be 5 because I need to delete this part. I put it in a different place when I was adding my links. I have 5 questions, and I would like my students to answer those 5 questions in a table. So instead I'm going to create a 5-row table with 2 columns, one for the question and one for the answer. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to Insert Table, and I'm going to do 2 columns by 5 rows, and I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then I'm going to move all of my questions down here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to highlight it, I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to pause and do that, and I'll be right back. So now that I have this table in here, I can make some adjustments to it. I think I'd like my answer column to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to click here in the middle, and I get that double-headed arrow. I'm going to drag over. So it's going to make my answer column a little bigger. And I would like these answers to show up a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and select all of these. I'm going to change my font color back to black, and then I'm going to fill this area with white. And the way that I would do that is I'm going to click over here on More. If your screen is bigger, you may already see this little bucket. This little bucket gives us background color to fill. So I'm going to go ahead and click here on white and make the background white. So now my student's answer section is just more visible. Now if I had my background still white, then I might just leave it white. But if I want it, or I might color it with another color. But if I want my answers for students to know and kind of train them for what to fill out, that might be what I would do. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my tables into my document, and I will be right back. Okay. So I have gone into my document and I've added tables in four different places. This bottom one, I've made a one cell table because I want my students to give me a longer answer, but it's still a table. It's just got one cell in it. So the last thing that I need to do is include some pictures for my students. I have a few directions that and a few places where I want to demonstrate some things, so I'm going to add those in. So one thing I need to do is add in a picture of a plot diagram, and that's going to go right here. So I've gone to images.google.com and I have searched for a plot diagram. I have found one that I like, so I'm going to right click on the picture, copy image address. Then I'm going to go back to my document and I'm going to go to Insert, Image by URL. That's the web address. And I'm going to paste it in this spot. It's going to give me a preview. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Insert. It looks like it's going to insert a giant picture into my document. So I'm going to resize it by clicking on it and jumping down to these little blue boxes and continuing to minimize this until it is as small as I want it to be. I have a few things I can do with this picture now that it has been included into my document. One of the things I can do is realign it. I can also center it. Right now it's left justified, but I could center it, put it like that. And I can also change the, to make sure that I have a border around it if I think that might look better. So if I click on it and I click up here, I can change the border weight. Let's say I wanted to go really crazy and do a huge border. I could do that. I can also change the color of my border. I'm going to change it to purple. So now my plot diagram has a giant border and it's purple. So if I wanted to minimize that, I could go down to there. My students can see this as a part of my Hyperdoc. So I'm going to go through and add the rest of my pictures and then I will be back. Okay, so I've gone back in and I've included all the pictures that I want to include. A little comic at the top. I already showed you the plot diagram. And then at the end, my students are going to be writing their own little story based on one of these GIFs. I do have another video that I posted recently about how to insert a GIF, and the process is true for inserting into a Google Doc as much as it is into an email like I showed in the video. So there are a couple of other ways that you can include pictures. So in order to do that, just to show you what those features are, if you click here on image, you can upload images from your computer. You can do a search. They have a search over here, so I could search for pictures over here on the side and then just choose those that would go in there. I can also insert photos. I can insert ones from my Google Drive. We did by URL, and I could take a picture using my webcam. So there are a lot of different options that I have for inserting pictures. So with these features, you have everything that you need in order to create a Hyperdoc and submit that out to your students. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me or post comments on the blog post, and I will answer those as best as I can. Thanks for watching and have a great day.